haven't met you, Emma Rafferty, and I'd like to welcome you on behalf of Top Security this evening, so thank you for coming. Before I go any further, I'll ask people just to check their phones. See a young man over there in the image. Okay, right, tonight is not about, well, first of all, I hope you've had a chance to relax now, having had whatever kind of week you've had, put it behind you, because this is different. This is not going to be about business. This is not about promoting Top Security or telling you about all the virtues of Joe Doyle, which would take far too long to do. It's about something different, as it said on the invitation. It's about an evening with Joanne O'Riordan. And I first became aware of Joanne. I was away last year and I saw a clip on Sky News, and she was on her way over to New York to speak to the UN. And she made an impact on me in 20 seconds on the news. And I've heard nothing since to alter that yet.
Top security is great.
Now we're getting there. But anyway, as I said, it's not about that, it's about Joanne. And so if you kind of just park that for a second, on a different note, we wanted to have an evening where we could invite some people, some customers and friends of the business, who just to have a social evening of some kind, and invite somebody to speak. We certainly didn't want superstars, and we certainly didn't want politicians. We wanted a bit more substance than that. So Joanne was certainly first on my list of who I wanted to come here this evening. So obviously, thankfully, she's here. I went down to meet them a couple of weeks ago, and I went into the house, and at the back, by the way, that's Joanne's parents, Joanne O'Riordan. I went down to the house to meet them, and I went in, introduced myself, sat at the kitchen table, and I asked Joanne how the UN conference thing had come about. And she looked at me and she says, so you haven't done your research? So that's just a flavour of what you're going to get from Joanne. But on a serious note, at 16 years of age, she'd been on the Late Late. She'd been to the UN to speak to a body of people over there, and she had challenged the Taoiseach of this country to honour a promise he'd made and got him to do it. And that's only some of her achievements, so that's quite remarkable. And if you just put that together with the fact that the challenges that have been created for her and her family as a result of being born, I better get this right, Tetra Amelia syndrome. Is that the right name? Total. He said you said total, but the right name is Tetra.
Yeah, you don't want to confuse them.
Okay, well, we'll get your turn in a minute. Anyway, so the challenges created by that, and to still have achieved all that at 16 years of age, she's clearly a remarkable person. So one thing I'd ask you before she speaks is that if you could just arm yourself with questions as you're listening to her, because I know she's very much looking forward to the question and answer session. So we do want to get input, we want to get interaction. So if you can just remember that. And on that note, I'll hand you over to Joanne.
Thanks very much, Emmett. That's a good introduction. Probably one of the best. Even better than the UN. Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much to Top Security and everyone else for inviting me here. My name is Joanne O'Riordan, and as you can see, I was born without my limbs, a condition medically known as Total Amelia, or Tetra if you want to go Latin on it. For the past 17 years, I turned 17 Wednesday. Thanks. I have learned to cope with my disability, and as a result, I've overcome many barriers and obstacles to live a happy and somewhat independent life. I was born on Wednesday, the 24th of April, at 9:15 a.m. by C-section in the Ernaville Hospital in Cork, which is non-existent anymore. My parents, Anne and Joe, were informed 9 weeks before I was born that I would be delivered the way I am today. Nobody ever envisioned that I would go on to achieve what some may deem impossible. For the past 2 years, I have been allowed to express my views and concerns on the issue of disability to a wider audience. It is a huge honour for me that I can represent people with disabilities, as I believe it is fundamental that we are given a quality of life that is meaningful regardless of our ability. As some of you may know, if you did your research unlike Emmett, I got the Irish government to do a U-turn on their cut for disability allowance back in 2011. To me, this was a fantastic achievement, and I'm enormously proud of the fact that I, as one person, got the government to sit up and listen. In that instance, I can safely say that I have been guided and helped along the way by my family. Without them in my life, I would not be doing or achieving the things I can. My family is made up of 2 parents, 3 brothers, and 1 sister, and the story I want to tell you today is a story of how my mother, father, brothers, and sister have all come together over the years to help me become the person I am. Being born with no limbs is often perceived by others to be a severely debilitating disability. This was certainly the case and thought of some doctors when I was born in '96. It's hard to imagine that during this time my parents had no one to turn to or ask for advice or guidance on what they could do to help me. I came home on Monday, the 29th of April, wrapped in a blanket just like any other baby, but the only difference being I had no limbs. We lived in a small rural area in northwest Cork called Donegal. It was a modest house, but certainly not suitable for someone with my condition. The only people my parents could turn to for help were that of my 3 older brothers and sister. They, just like me, had to adapt to an environment that was pretty much unknown and untested. I guess it was safe to say that there was no right or wrong in what they were doing. They just had to get on and do it. This is the motivation I have when I face any obstacle in my life. The support they gave me was the quality of life that was, for the most part, inconceivable to everyone else. In August '96, my parents were told of a girl in England by the name of Tina Stark, who was also born the same as me. Tina was 12 years old at the time, and my parents decided to visit her and her family to get a better understanding of the future and what lay ahead. This was the first time my parents ever went outside the Duhallow borders, Cork and Ireland. What they saw would change their view of the world and me forever. Tina was a bright, bubbly, outgoing young girl, and my parents learned more things from Tina's family in that week than they had ever done from the medical professionals throughout Ireland. The Stark family provided a lifeline not only to me but to my entire family. They gave my mother a tape of Tina when she was a baby, and with this tape my parents were able to show all those working within the health service the endless possibilities of what I could achieve in my life. Over the next few months, my life started to change dramatically, and I was referred to the Roehampton Hospital in London. Here the OT decided to make a seat, or as we used to call it, the flower pot. The flower pot will allow me to sit upright and bop around without falling over. It was a simple idea which had a massive impact on how my family saw my life. This flower pot was moulded and shaped in such a way that it suited my body. For the first time, I was able to sit up and explore the environment around me, and not just the ceiling or walls above and beside me. Naturally, like any parents would be when my mother and father realised how successful the flower pot was, it prompted them to inquire about what else was out there to help me. They began on my shoulders, and a man by the name of Andreas de Bon, working in the orthopaedic hospital in Cork, made silicone cups which were placed on my shoulders. This allowed me to jiggle, shake, and move my shoulders in a way that helped me realise and understand how I could use them to my advantage. The next place was the Rehabilitation Centre in Dunleary in Dublin. Here they made me a special jacket which was wrapped around my body and had makeshift limbs attached to it. The jacket was not a success as it restricted my movement, and to make matters worse, my older brothers and sister hated it. According to my brother Denny, I was being covered all over and looked like a plastic doll. Very considerate about my feelings. They prefer me the way I was, natural and not different. They are right, I'm not different, I'm not special, I'm just unique. In fact, I'm so unique, I'm only one of 7 people in the world living with this rare physical disability. As time went by, my family taught me how to move and roll. My mother says that they spent hours on end every day teaching me how to roll, using a sweet in the middle of the floor. Myself and my father would race to it. It's fair to say when there was food involved, I won. It's something I still value to this day. It was another form of independence, and I beat the odds and did it. For me, it was a way of knowing that whatever the odds, and no matter how big the barrier, I could do something to make my quality of life that bit better. After a while, I was given a microelectric hand. This was an enormous step, and initially my family were really excited. They knew that it had the power to open a new world of potential for me. It was the first time I'd ever come across any form of technology, but to our shock and dismay, it was not right for me. It was way too heavy and didn't do what it was set out to accomplish. Never once to give up, the next step or idea my family had was to get me walking. Over the next few months, my mother, father, brothers and sisters sat me down on the floor or dining room table, encouraging me to balance. Then I started to move slightly until eventually I could do it on my own. Needless to say, there were many times where I fell and cried, but after a long and difficult struggle, I, like so many others out there, took my first step. It was the start of a new beginning, it was a step in the right direction, and a step to improving my life for the better. It is hard to imagine that within this short period of time, I'd achieved so much, and I think for someone with no limbs, it is incredible for my family's wish to see me walking come true. Time and time again, my family have been there supporting me. The challenges I face get far greater each and every day. This again led to Rehab in Ireland make a swivel walker, as they thought it would help me even further. The swivel allowed me to rock side to side, move forwards and back, and only turning slightly. The problem with this is that I could not go outside on my own, and once again I became restricted. Then one day, my family sat me down in front of our old computer, and before long I was banging away on it with my chin, nose, and what I like to call my left hand. I played games that helped me to learn my ABC in small words. Curious as any other person, I then began to explore other ways and means of expressing myself, and just after my second birthday, I was given my first car, or as you like to call it, a wheelchair. This was the key that would unlock my true independence, because let's face it, life is about living, and we all want to live a quality of life that is acceptable to all of us. Nobody could have ever imagined how it was possible for me to drive this car, but I did. In August 1998, my first set of wheels arrived home, and before long I was whizzing around in and out of the house without a care in the world. I had my legs, and now I had my freedom. I could go left, right, stop, swing around, move forwards and backwards. I swerved in and out of the doors, the kitchen, the living room, and the garden. My car has allowed me to run, walk, and achieve all things otherwise impossible. It is safe to say that technology has played an enormous part in my life. It has allowed me to express myself in a way that has opened up so many doors with endless opportunities. I use technology in every aspect of my life, be it at home, in school, or basically anywhere. I, like every other teenager, can send texts, tweets, update my Facebook, or simply call my friends to have the banter. I do this by using my upper and bottom lip, chin, nose, and hand. I do the same when I play my PlayStation, Nintendo DS, iPad, and laptop. The use of my car and the use of my old computer enabled me to figure out what I could do. At this time in my life, I know no limits. When I was younger, I even had parallel bars made for me. The idea came about as one day my mother saw me using my hands to grab hold and move myself along the high chair. Simple as it may seem, this allowed my mother to know that if they could get something which was made longer, it would give me the chance to explore my potential beyond expectation. It is safe to say because, let's face it, mothers are always right. Well, sometimes. Having the parallel bars allowed me to play football, walk steadier, and swing, and in my mind, I was like an Olympian. Like everything else in my life, it came about because my family saw and thought in a way that others did not. I have surprised doctors, nurses, friends, and even complete strangers by what I have done. I do things in my life that any other able-bodied person can do with the use of their limbs. If I fail, I try and try again. If I fall, I get back up until eventually I succeed, because my motto in life is no limbs, no limits. For me, it never matters how long it takes to get there. All that ever matters is that I try and try again. This has been the attitude of my family, and I've been extremely lucky to have them in my life. They even moved house and built a new one, all to make my life much easier. They were the ones that made this house more accessible. They were the ones who adapted all the windows, doors, lights, television, and even bathroom to make my life better. Without them, I can safely say that I would not be the person I am today. I can also say that I've lived a life which has been full of ups and downs. I have lived a life where I understand the importance of trying and trying again, because I know that if I try and if I fail, I will one day achieve my goal. For example, recently I've been trying to dye my hair bright purple, but it's not coming out. So Dad went on a rant about just carrying on. but soon I will have my purple hair. If anyone knows any good hairdressers, get me in contact. ASAP. Through my family, I have seen how we can all change the future for the better if we work together. Through them, I realised that no matter how bad, tough or cruel life gets, that there is always a time where you can get back up and try again. They have done this in my education, they have done this in my local community, and they've taken on battles with other people to ensure that I can have the best life possible. It is not a perfect life, but it is a life I feel happy and content in myself. I can imagine that if we all had this attitude, we could do so much, not just in our lives, but that of others too. As someone who has a rare physical disability, and as someone who has seen the world through a different lens, all I can say is that without us all working together, we can never create a society whereby we live as equals. We will never be happy in who we are or what we do, because we will never understand the true meaning of life. Each and every day, people all over the world are doing things to change the lives of others. They are allowing people to see the endless possibilities of what it is like to live a life where you can feel equal. It is a world in which most of us are a part of, but I know that there are many people out there who feel excluded. What we need to do is include these people in our world, as they are the ones who will enrich our lives, make us think bigger and better. They are the people like me who, for the most part, have been misjudged and misrepresented. They are the ones who allow you to do what I do in my life, think outside the box. To be honest, I hate the word disability. I hate when people use it to describe me, and I hate the way people look and think of me as being weak or different. I, just like you and others out there, have the ability to achieve anything I want in life. I don't look at my life and see the word disability. I only see ability. I've been extremely lucky in my life that I have been allowed to express my thoughts, ideas and concerns to everyone I've met. Just because I have no limbs does not mean I have no voice. It does not mean I shouldn't be heard, and just because we are teenagers does not mean we should judge, disrespect or upset others simply because they seem or act differently. Yes, we are all unique in our own way. We all have individual thoughts or ideas that make us special. This does not make us any less than anyone else. There are so many young people in Ireland, and indeed all over the world, that feel they can't express themselves in a way that makes them feel confident and proud of who they are and where they come from. We should not allow others to bully and get away with being disrespectful. It is not right, fair or justifiable in any situation. I say to you, let's be confident in ourselves, forget about the bullies and start working together to understand our differences and accept our uniqueness, because let's face it, confidence is sexy. If you ever feel like someone is hurting you, speak to anyone that will listen, because when there's a will, there's a way. And why? Because there is always a way. I believe we need to get young people to start thinking. I live each and every day by challenging myself to achieve the impossible. I do everyday activities in a way that most people could never imagine. I use my mouth, top and bottom lip, chin, nose and my left hand to send text, tweets, update my Facebook, play my PlayStation, do my homework, use my iPad, and laptop without the use of my four limbs. This does not make me any different to you, it just makes me very unique. I can even beat my brothers and sister in computer games, although they have the use of their thumbs, fingers and hands. As you can see, I have used my disability to overcome many barriers and obstacles in my life. I enjoy my life, not because I'm limited, but because I'm totally unlimited. I don't allow any one situation, and you should not either. In school, I'm one of the top 10 students in my year. I love watching sports and being involved in all types of school activities, mainly the GAA. I simply believe that no matter what, I can and will achieve. We can all do this, we just need the confidence and support to do so. We all have a chance in this life to make a difference, and if I can do it, so can you. I never thought I'd be speaking here in front of you today, let alone having a documentary made on my life. Who would have thought as a 16-year-old girl that I would have been invited to New York the week of my 16th birthday to address the world's leading women in technology? These are things that happened because I took each opportunity that arose to me. I challenged myself to look beyond the barriers and achieve. We can all and should do that too. Don't ever give up, don't ever feel like you don't matter or count. The day you do feel like this, just remember this is the day you will achieve the impossible. I was very lucky because my parents did everything they could to make me independent. Since I was born, my life has been very positive. My parents treated me and raised me the very same as my brothers and sister. In fact, as far as they were concerned, life would go on as it was. Nothing needed to change, and instead of building a world around me, they put me into their world. My family were big into sport, and when I was just 2 weeks old, they had me travelling around to football matches and to see my sister competing in the All Ireland athletics. My life, for the most part, is like a roller coaster. I have travelled the length and breadth of the country meeting people, going to hospitals, concerts, and other occasions. It's safe to say that I'm always part of whatever is going on, and sometimes I am the one leading. Life, after all, is about living, and it's important for me to have a life, a laugh, and a joke. In fact, we should be treated the same, and I like the fact I'm treated like this. I started school in Mid-Street in September 2000. I was like everyone else with my school uniform, books, bags, and plenty of friends. I also had a PA, and everyone really should have a PA. But I guess in my case, I really do need one. I knew I needed some help in school, but on saying that, my parents were adamant that I learned how to write the same as everyone else, and my teacher taught me how to do it. Today I'm very grateful for that, as everyone should be able to sign his or her own name. Again, like at home, I wasn't treated any differently in school. My friends have always been there for me, supporting me, encouraging me, and inviting me to all the places they go. In short, I never feel left out. When I was in third class, it was decided that I get a laptop for my schoolwork. The reason for this was because it was taking too long for me to write, and I was beginning to fall behind. The school were of fantastic support, and the laptop enabled me to keep up with my classmates in schoolwork. The 8 years I spent in national school were a great indication as to how I could cope with the pressure of school, but when I moved from there to secondary school, a lot more changes had to be made. It's fair to say that there would be a lot more challenges that I would face. I started in Mill Street Community School in 2007. Here I had to get used to moving from classrooms for each subject, which was hard, but I adapted and did not allow any obstacle to hold me back. I was the first person in both the national school and secondary school to attend those schools in a wheelchair. It was further acknowledged that changes had to be made in the secondary school, and I'm glad to say this was done without any hitches. As much as I liked the academic part of school, I was delighted with the opportunity to do transition year in 2011 even, as this allowed me to take part in many physical challenges, such as the school play, the BT Young Scientist competition, as well as work experience within the community. Now that I'm back in fifth year, I have to once again concentrate my energy in my schoolwork. In the future, I hope to go to college, like most of you business tycoons. And if not, sure, look at Steve Jobs, he came out fine. And hopefully I want to study journalism, as I want to be a TV presenter. Everyone asks me, do I want Ryan Turbiday's job? But to be completely honest, I want to create a rival show to the Late Late. I want a Graham Norton type show, full of laughs, humour, just to cheer people up, and of course, full of celebrities, so I can get a big ego for myself. I think the only way to keep going is to be positive and try to keep our heads up and have a can-do attitude, even when times like these are hard and bad. One day, my friend Lucy asked me how did I have so much energy. No one could really answer until a few of the girls said, "Lucy, easy to know you have not always been with us. This is just a typical Joanne." I know if my parents were negative people and had listened to the doctors when I was born, I would not be doing and achieving the things I am today. My parents had no one to turn to for help or advice. They still made the effort of getting me independent, and it is fair to say that they knocked on every door until eventually someone did take notice. It is fair to say I've done a lot of travelling over the years, be this meeting people, going on holiday to Spain, Portugal, Sweden, Italy, or Lourdes. But again, one of my biggest achievements was going to New York on my 16th birthday to address the United Nations on how technology has made my life much easier. As a 16-year-old, to be invited there, it was simply a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. For the most part, life is a positive one, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I have my downtimes, but I never dwell on these too much, because to do so would not just hinder my development, but it would also stop me from realising my true potential. You see, it doesn't matter what people think of you as an individual. The only thing that matters in life is that you make it count. Each and every day I get up living like it's the last, because that's how you really fulfill each day, week, month, year, and so on. I always go to school or out clubbing or out to matches, intending to have a laugh and make it a memorable day. I can honestly say that my parents, irrespective of their opinions, gave me a chance. And with this, I have used my voice to take on the Irish government. I've highlighted the importance of allowing people with disabilities and others to live a quality of life that is meaningful to all. If I didn't do this, who else would have? Who else would have? And at 16, people may think I was too young to do it, but all I can say is you are never too young or old to achieve goals, or as what some people see it as the impossible. Luckily enough, that resulted in the Irish government reversing their decision to cut the payment, and plenty more positive things arose out of that situation. Of course, going on the Late Late Show was the best, and for the first time I was given a chance to speak on my own and show people all over Ireland what it is like to live with a disability. To my complete surprise, this resulted in me in winning the Young Person of the Year Award, the Local Community Council Achievement Award, and the West Cork Garda Youth Award in 2011. I'm delighted with all these honours and achievements, and even though all of those things are great, what is even better is that I get to meet different people, and indeed others, who show me a way of life and a way of living that I would never understand. This is why I am extremely humble and terribly honoured to be invited here to talk to you about what I have done in my life. I can only hope that one, if not all of you, can go home and say to yourself, you know what, I can and will do this, because we all have the willpower and determination to succeed, no matter what the barrier. Life is about living. It is about waking up in the morning, taking on the day, saying to yourself, no matter what, that today is going to be better than the last. And if we could all have that attitude, that mindset, we will achieve things that for the most part are unimaginable otherwise. Because let's face it, in this life, nothing is impossible, because after all, I'm possible. I've also been told recently that's probably the worst quote I've ever come out with. Now, if you would like to ask me any questions, you can do so, as I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. And for anyone that is into tweeting or Facebooking, you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at No Limbs, No Limits. That's the documentary, No Limbs, No Limits. Also, every Monday, I do a little column in the Irish Examiner, so take a look at that if you want to keep up to date on all things Joanne. Thanks very much for inviting me here today, and thanks for listening to me, and I hope you enjoyed it.